What's happening, guys? It's Nate. Today we're talking about the most important shot you need on the tennis court that's not your serve and not the return. Those are the most important, right? Big serves, win a lot of points. Good return, break a lot of serves. But today we're talking about the inside out, inside in forehand. Centralizing the forehand. Now, sometimes it happens accidentally or I guess intentionally to where it's like, I just like my forehand better than my backhand, so I'm gonna run around all my backhands. But today, let's talk about how to do it with intent and really develop strategies. So here, this moment right here, this is Federer and Dominic Thiem at the US Open. This is the position that Roger wants to be in. Here you can see that he has moved left to get around the ball and make this a forehand. Now, some would argue he's out of position here, and we'll talk more about that, but here, this is perfect because the ball is relatively short and it's allowed him to get his feet set. Plenty of time here. So let's talk about Dominic Thiem's position. In the middle of the court, he now has to guess whether Roger is going to his right or going to his left. Because something magical happens with the inside out, inside in, and it's about your angle to the ball. Your ability to create angles off the court. And here with the inside in, we can see Roger where he'd play off the court here, which would make that very tough. But if Thiem was to lean, right, and guess incorrectly, this is wide open as well with the inside in. And that's exactly what we see Federer play, is the inside in. Thiem has to protect that short ankle or the deep ankle on the backhand. Roger sees the slight movement, he pulls it inside in. Even if Thiem was to guess correctly, he'd have a really difficult time playing through that shot because Roger would obviously follow that in. So as far as that particular movement, let's talk about the inside out for just a moment. And I spoke for a second about the mistake that players make. And here we see Delpo. What the mistake that a lot of players are making is that when they see the ball, we'll just put this down as if that was the ball here. A lot of times players are moving forward before they're moving around. All right, so here you're gonna see Delpo immediately creating space to his left. And this is important. This is like a half moon shape. You wanna move around the ball to create space for your arm and racket to get through. And then if there's still space that needs to be covered with your adjustment steps, you can go ahead and take those chop steps up to the ball. Now, on the inside out, we've seen this forehand. We've done a review of this forehand. This is great footage from Love Tennis, by the way. But you can see all this space. And it's this particular moment as he works to the ball, the opponent has no idea where he's going. It disguises, and that's a big piece of the inside out, inside in forehand. The ability to disguise the shot that the opponent just doesn't have the ability to read it. So here, by working out through that extension, you can see at the last second, how many of you thought he was going inside out? And then at contact, the racket is just slightly forward as opposed to being a little bit open, which we're not, as the opponent, we're not gonna capture it. We're not gonna be able to see that. He's able to play that ball on the inside in. So let me show you here for just a moment on our screen here. Some of you might be asking, well, couldn't I do the same thing if I just took that as a backhand? Couldn't I create the angle? To some degree, but you're not gonna create quite the angle that you can on the inside out, and you're certainly not gonna have the disguise. The backhand, it's a lot easier to recognize whether you're going down the line or across court. So if this player was to hit a backhand here, we'd start seeing an angle from this position to really high percentage he could play into this part of the court, or he could play into this part of the court, but he's not gonna get much closer to the line. So you can see he's not really spreading the offense. He's not making his opponent run an absolute ton. So if he, so if he was to make this an inside out forehand, I wanna show you this angle now. So now the direction to the ball, he can now play the ball more at this angle, and with the topspin, get the ball to break over here. He can play at a greater angle. He or she can play at a greater angle. Same thing with the inside in. He can get this ball more off the court using topspin, okay? Or you can drive it, you can go more through the court, but the angles are better and the disguise is improved. So that piece is really important. So let's talk about another strategy, and maybe absolutely one of my favorites is the cage. All right, and the cage, the other piece here is that even if you don't win the point outright, which you may not, you're establishing your strength against the opponent's weakness. Now, Victoria, she was the top rated 5-0 in the States, I believe in 2020. She came and worked with us, and this is something very specific that we were working on, as you're gonna see here, is working on patterns that off the serve, she could centralize her forehand. So good serve to the body, immediately working left. And here, let me just pause that for a moment because I want you to see the height of this ball. That's her ball right there. I know in the bubble it can be tough to see. But the height of this ball, she's immediately getting this ball up high to the opponent's backhand, and that way she can stay on this left side. Now you might be thinking, like, should she recover? Maybe a little bit, but not a ton, because the likelihood of that big, heavy, high forehand being redirected down the line is slim to none. If they were to take it on the rise, take it early, and they were really high level play, perhaps, but Victoria has a big, heavy topspin forehand. So from here, the backhand is saved, and immediately she's able to get forward and then put the ball away into the open court relatively easy. So the cage, super simple tactic, strategy. You want to get to the left and play high, play heavy, not just pounding the ball low and flat to the opponent's backhand, because that is when they could slice or play the ball down the line, but play big and heavy and above their strike zone. This is particularly effective if you're playing someone with a one-hander. Now let's talk about when not to play the inside out, all right? Because it is being overused, and especially for players that haven't necessarily developed their backhand yet to a place that they're happy with. They run around everything. And Victoria, as awesome of a player as she is, we had to really work through this decision making. And we're gonna see this here. So let me pause. Getting pulled pretty close to the outer thirds of the court. And then on this next ball, working all the way back around to make this a forehand. All right, so that's a lot of ground to cover. Now it's honestly, it's not the worst decision, but I think a backhand would have sufficed, because let's look at her opponent's position. From here, anything in the court over in this direction is going to work. But unfortunately, the amount of time as we go back, the amount of time it took to get from here to here in order to create this forehand, it created a spacing problem. All right, so we can see this here. That's the ball right there, right? We can see that spacing problem because the intent was to make it a forehand. That's the preferred side, but the spacing would have been improved if it had just been a backhand, and therefore the error occurs. Pushes the ball wide, not happy, right? But she made this 99 out of 100 times is the one example I could find to where the mistake was made. So make sure you're not overusing it. Make sure the ball is more towards the middle, or maybe 6 feet from the middle. The ball is on your non-dominant side. If it's on the outer thirds, it's probably not the time to use an inside out forehand because it opens up too much court. So let's talk about the inside in, because the inside out is only as good as the inside in. So remember, the inside in is here where you're playing the ball straight. If you can only go inside out every time you approach, your opponent's gonna know, and they're gonna cheat over that direction. They're gonna beat you with all this open space over here or lob. So in the inside in, spacing is really important here, but the other tip, as I'll show you here, is controlling this left side. And I want you to really pay attention to Federer's left arm and how still and how controlled it is through the stroke. I'll highlight it here. So as he's working through it, he's really controlling that left side of his body. A tip I like for this is, make sure you're spreading your fingers, make sure you're conscious of this left arm and really working behind the ball, and then controlling this left shoulder through rotation. Because if you rotate too fast, you're gonna hook the ball wide, and that's what we see most of the time with the inside in mistake. We're just working too fast. We're too excited. We heard the dinner bell ring. We're getting up there to kill the ball. We want to make sure we control that left side and execute the shot because you already have the advantage of this guy. So put these strategy and tactics in place. Try the cage, play high and heavy to the backhand. And then when you get these short balls, work between the inside in, always follow it in, and working through the inside out, also follow it in. Guys, hope today's tip helped. Leave me comments below. Let me know. What do you think? Is the inside in, is that one of the most important shots? Do you think something else is? Always happy to get feedback and have dialogue. If you enjoyed the video, hit like. If you never want to miss a video, hit subscribe. Share it with a friend you think it can help. And be sure to check out the comment section as well because we've left a free link to check out the platform at PlayYourCourt. I'll see you next time.